In my last produce washing video, I combined baking soda and a vinegar to wash my fruit. But thanks to some people in the comments section, I found out that it's not very effective. It does make a little bit of a fizz, but the baking soda and the vinegar cancel each other out, and it's not much better than water all by itself. So in this video, we're gonna use baking soda and vinegar again, but we're gonna do it slightly differently to maximize the cleaning power of both of these amazing products. For the full ingredient list, check the description box below, but enough talking, let's wash some produce. So here I got some berries, some cherries, I got some apples, and I also threw in some green peppers because a lot of comments in the previous video, people asked me, what about vegetables? Do you wash them the same way? I wash everything the same way. So fruits, vegetables, basically everything gets washed just like this. First thing we got to do is we're going to take off some of these stickers off some of these apples and the peppers, but the berries and the cherries we're going to keep in the containers. You know, when these stickers are on the produce, they leave a little bit of a film because they do use some type of glue to get the sticker to stick. So not only do we want to get off like dirt and pesticides, I want that glue off of my food too. So we took them off of the apples. Actually, these peppers don't even have any stickers, but everything else we're going to keep in the container. So let's head over to the sink and I'll start to fill it up with some water. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put all the fruit in the sink while I run the water, and I'm going to run the water at like a lukewarm temperature, so not super cold but also not super hot. Warm water cleans stuff. Cold water is not great at cleaning stuff, so I want it a little warm but not so hot that it's actually going to like warm the fruit too much. So I'm going to let this run and fill the sink up, and I'm going to put the containers right inside the sink just like that. These containers all have little holes in them so the water will get in just fine. Even these cherries that come in like a bag, I don't even have to open the bag. They got the holes right in there, so the water will get in no problem. The apples and the peppers we'll just throw right in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the baking soda. The baking soda is going to help loosen up any dirt or grime on the outside of the fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to put in about a half a cup. This is a pretty large sink, so a little larger than most people's sinks. So maybe you might want to use a quarter cup, but here I'm going to go full half cup. I'm just going to dump it right into the water. So once that baking soda is in there, I'm just going to mix it with my hand and just dissolve the baking soda into the water. Once I got enough water in there that everything is submerged, I'm just going to let these soak for about 5 to 10 minutes to loosen up any of the grime on the outside of the fruits and vegetables. So these have been soaking for about 5 or 10 minutes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to agitate some of the berries. So I won't take the berries out of the container, but what I will do is just shake them around inside their containers just to get the baking soda water inside the container, and just like the same way that your washing machine works to agitate the water around the outside of the fruits. I don't want to damage it. You know, berries are very, very delicate, so I want to make sure that I'm not bruising this fruit as I'm cleaning it. Now with a nice clean sponge, I'm just going to wash the outside of the fruit, like the apples and the peppers, and that'll just get some rough abrasion on the outside, and I can use either side. So this is a non-stick safe sponge, so both of these aren't too crazy abrasive. It's not like it's steel wool or anything. And I'm just going to give this an outside, and I'll wash each one of these apples individually, scrubbing the outside in the baking soda water. And I'm going to do the same thing for these peppers. Any thick-skinned fruit you could do like this, so like cucumbers, carrots, apples, anything that the outside's a little thick and's got some durability to it, I'll wash it just like this. Because they spray these fruits with all kinds of pesticides and ripening agents and things just to make them look shiny in the store. And I want to take off all of that. Not to mention the glue from the stickers that I took off before. So once I've got everything nice and scrubbed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the water out of the sink, and I'm going to give these all a quick rinse. And I don't have to go crazy rinsing them because this is not the final rinse. I'm just trying to get off any of the additional dirt or grime that's on these fruits and get that to wash down the drain. I won't even open up any of these berry containers because, again, I'll do that a little bit later in the process. But these have a lot of holes in them, so anything I'm spraying in there, that's getting inside. I can even open up the top of these strawberries and just give it a quick rinse over the top and let it drain right out of the bottom. Like raspberries are like the most delicate fruit on earth. I may even turn down the water to give those a rinse. So now that we've rinsed the dirty baking soda water out of the sink, I'm gonna refill the sink with lukewarm water, and now we'll get to our vinegar. So now in our lukewarm water sink that we're filling up, we're gonna put about a cup and a half of this vinegar. So the vinegar is gonna do a better job of cleaning the pesticides and the chemicals off of the outside of the fruit. And now we're maximizing the cleaning properties of both. So the baking soda did its thing, and now the vinegar will do its thing, as opposed to combining them together. Even though we get that little bit of a fizz, what that fizz is actually doing is a chemical reaction where it's both of these things are getting neutralized, and then they're not cleaning to their full potential. So this process where we do it separately, first the baking soda and then the vinegar, they can each do their own thing at a max potential. So my sink's pretty big. I might even just put 2 cups in there, and I'm not being super exact. If a little extra splashes in, that's okay. And the vinegar I'm using is just a regular white distilled vinegar. So this isn't like white wine vinegar. This is just white distilled vinegar. You can cook with this stuff. You can clean with this stuff. It is a modern marvel. And while the sink's filling up, I'll just mix the water with my hands. I'll move the fruit around, and that'll make sure that the vinegar is mixing with the water well. So once the largest of the items have been covered with water, I'm going to let this sit also for another 5 or 10 minutes and let the vinegar do its thing and loosen up the pesticides and chemicals on the outside of this fruit. But while that's happening, I'm going to set up my containers so I can easily transfer the fruit from the sink right into the containers after they're washed. So while these are soaking, let me start to align my containers with paper towel. So I got these containers here that I'm just gonna take little pieces of paper towel and put them on the bottom so that any excess moisture that's left after these are done draining are gonna be absorbed by the paper towel. And I'll always put enough to get the whole bottom of the container because I don't want little pools of water to develop. I find this really helps keep the fruit from not getting soggy and just sitting inside water for too long. So I'll put 1 to 2 inside each one. You can see that these are glass containers with lids. I find that when you get them out of the containers that they come in and you put them in these, they last way longer. And this is just a little towel that I'm gonna put the apples and the peppers on top so they can drain before I put those in the produce drawer. So these have been soaking for about 5 or 10 minutes. Now I'm gonna drain the sink of the vinegar water. We're gonna give these a rinse and get them in those containers. So once that vinegar water has gotten out of the sink, I'm gonna run the lukewarm water and I'm gonna give the sink a quick rinse. And then I'm gonna plug the sink back up because I wanna rinse these in the sink full of nice, fresh, clean water. Now I'm gonna put my stopper on and I'm gonna start to give these a rinse. I'll start with the most simple one. So the apples and the peppers, I can just rinse, and I'll rinse just like I'm washing the dishes. Once they get a nice rinse, we're gonna set them aside on our towel. So now with these blueberries, I'm gonna dump them right into my sieve here. If any get loose, I'll pick those up by hand and put them right in there. And then while I'm rinsing them, I'm looking for any that are mushy, or look at this one. This one's unripe. I'll set those aside and I'll give these a nice thorough rinse. Shake them around. I don't see any mushy ones in here because any mushy ones will continue to rot and rot the ones next to it. So I'll make sure I'll take those out. This batch actually looks pretty good. And once I've got a nice thorough rinse on it, I'm gonna let these sit for a second while I dump out another different fruit. So those are draining, these are rinsing. These plastic containers I'll just rinse out and recycle. These are nice and drained. I don't see any mushy or gross ones. We'll dump those right inside there. And I'll do the same thing with these strawberries. Keep rinsing them a few at a time, putting them inside there, giving them also a rinse. And I'm inspecting them to see are there any ones that are overly ripe, mushy spots, rotten, mold. And as they're floating around in the water, this is when they're getting that ultimate rinse and getting everything off of them. This is what strawberries. See, like this one doesn't look great. I didn't catch it when I was washing it, but I will take this one out. This one will not make it into the fruit pile. I may just cut out that part and just eat it myself right now. Let's do these cherries. I'm gonna dump all the cherries just right inside the sink. Give them a little mix. And now I'll catch them with a strainer. Give them a nice rinse. I'll just keep picking these apart by hand or pulling them out by hand. The rinsing is key because that is where whatever was loosened up is going to come off. A lot of people will say that like this is very time consuming. It is, but I don't care. There's really no alternative. Who's going to wash your fruit for you? You know, fruit's super healthy to eat, but it's got some downsides to it with modern farming and all the stuff that goes into making sure that this fruit gets to the supermarket. So if you're not going to do this, who is? Rinsing your fruit just with water for a few seconds right before you eat it, I don't think that cuts it. Let these raspberries loose. You can already see this one is a little rotten and mushy. We're going to take that one out. Caught that. These cherries. And raspberries are super fragile, so I'll be a little bit more careful with them. I've also got enough water in this sink. I don't think I need any more. But once I get them enough inside the container or inside the strainer, I can get rid of some of these rubber bands. And I'll just give them a nice little rinse. And the raspberries, they have like little cups, so they kind of like hold the water a little bit. So I'll make sure I tilt them a few directions to make sure that whatever water's cut inside the raspberries comes out. And always inspecting to see, are there any mushy or rotten ones? These all look pretty good. And I've made the mistake to let all the fruit out all at once, and then I'm separating blueberries from raspberries. So if you just do them one at a time, it makes it nice and simple, and it doesn't turn into a little brain puzzle. And I don't know why, but I left these one container of blueberries all the way for the end. We're just gonna let those out, and then I'll fish them out, and I'll pull them by hand. But letting them loose, I think, really helps rinse them out really thoroughly. There's a lot of space in between the blueberries that's opening up. They get contact with the nice clean water. Give these a quick rinse. I don't know why, but I get a lot of satisfaction doing this. Makes me feel very accomplished. And we're so disconnected from our food that we take it for granted, that we always assume that it's clean and it's good and it's healthy. I know that I spent the time to clean it, and I'm not relying on, a food manufacturer to say that they washed it. I washed it. I know it's clean. So in all that fruit, we only had one mushy raspberry, one unripe blueberry, and the strawberry is a little rotten and mushy here. So this is actually a pretty good haul of fruit. So now I'll store these in the fridge. These are gonna go in the produce drawer. I'm gonna put the tops on these, and these are gonna store in the fridge. And when I wash the fruit like this, it lasts significantly longer. Sometimes we got strawberries and blueberries that last up to 2 weeks, and they still look just as good as the day that I bought them. So I hope you like this video. Hit like, hit subscribe, and now that you got a bunch of clean fruit, check out my French toast recipe. That is a really awesome French toast recipe. I put a little fresh fruit on top, and you can too. I'll see you there. Thanks.